Hey guys, Mr. MathWiz here. Just want to show you a couple more things that'll help you out with lesson 2 that we didn't get into in the last video. So we talked about how to turn percentages into decimals. So we talked about how if you had something like 27%, you could write it as 0.27 because we moved the number 2 decimal places. Whoop, sloppy handwriting, sorry about that. We took that 27 and we moved the invisible decimal point 2 places, only 2 places and always 2 places, right? So 27% becomes 0.27, and how we were able to use that multiplied by original to figure out our answer, right? So if we had a question that asked us what's 27% of 30, we would take 0.27 times 30, and we would get our answer, which in this case would be 0.27 times 30, 8.1, right? So not that hard. That's the basic idea. Basically what you're doing is you're taking your, I'm going to write it out in words. Basically what you're doing is you're taking your percentage as a decimal. You're taking your percent, you're multiplying it by the original, and you're getting your new value. The new value might be the discount, it might be the amount paid, it could be a markup, all depends on the situation, right? Could be final costs. All depends on the story and what that percentage is based off of. Keep in mind that this value is going to relate to the original the same way that the percentage related to the original, right? So if the percentage was a sale percent, then the answer is going to be the amount of the sale. If the percentage is a markup percentage, then the answer is going to be the amount of the markup, right? Those two are related. So moving on to the second half of lesson 2, there's a couple of things I want to talk about real quick. Instead of just multiplying your decimal by your original to get your answer, you can also use this formula to find out other pieces of information, right? So if we know that the percentage times the original is the new, and let's say the problem gives you a percent, let's say it tells you 10%, and they tell you that the final cost was $70, right? So there's a couple different ways you could solve that. If you did your percentages like we did in lesson 1, and you're trying to figure out there's a sale of 10% and the final cost was $70, you have to be kind of careful with that. And the reason I say that is because if you try to create a proportion that was 10 over 100 and you did 70, this would be wrong. And the reason that would be wrong is because this represents a final cost after the sale, and this represents the sale percentage, right? So they're not related. So you have to be very careful about that sort of stuff. But I'm rambling a little bit there. So what I would recommend doing in these situations would be, you could still do it with a proportion. You would just have to change one of these values first. So instead of doing the sale percentage, you might want to switch it to 90%. Because 100 minus 10 is 90, right? So 90% would represent the final, and $70 would represent the final. And then you could do your cross multiplication, the butterfly, to figure out the answer here. 70 times 100, because you multiply opposite corners, divided by the other piece, and that would give you your answer, right? Which we'll go ahead and solve real quick just so you have it. 70 times 100 divided by 90. So 71.777. Okay. I'm just going to round that to 71.8. So if it was 10% off, wait, was that really what we had? Oh, it's 77. Okay, I thought that didn't look right. Sorry. 77.8. All right. So if 10% off gave you a final price of $70, and it was 10%, right? Then the original price would be that 77.8. So that's how you would do it with the proportions and the butterfly that we've worked on before. You could do the same thing with our other formula, though, with the decimals, right? Because remember, that one works by taking the percent times the original to give us our final. So if we have a final of 70, and it was 10% off, so we still have to do that 100 minus 10 to give us 90 part, right? Now, how do I write 90% as a decimal? Well, I just move that invisible decimal point 2 points to the left and becomes 0.9. So 0.9 times something, times our original, would give us 70. So to figure out the original, instead of multiplying those together, you're doing the opposite of that, which is division. So the original becomes 70 divided by 0.9. Okay? So 70 divided by 0.9 gives us, look at that, 77.777, the same answer we had before. So the original is 77.8 approximately. Same answer as when I did it the other way. So this way of using constant proportionality, using the equation form instead of the butterfly method, give you the same answers. It just looks a little different, right? So once again, you can use whatever form you want to use. Second thing I want to show you in this part of the lesson, because it touches on it on the book, we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but in the book it talks about simple interest. Sorry, I'm back. So the book talks about simple interest in activity 2.5. So I just want to touch on that with you guys quickly. So simple interest means that you're taking a percentage of something, but you're doing it multiple times. So the idea here is that if you have, oh, I don't need that calculator out. All right. If you have $50 and you get 5% interest on it, that would be $50 times 5%. 5% as a decimal, because remember we take that 5 and we move it 2 places. There's an invisible 0 there that pops up. So 50 times 5% would give us $2.5. Okay? So 50 times 5% gives us 0.25. Well, to figure out it, what we call simple interest, that means this can continue doing that for multiple times. So if you're getting 5%, let's say a month, well, that would be really great. Man, I wish I got 5% a month. It might be more realistic to say per year, probably. We'll say per year. So if you did 5% per year, that means that 2.5 is happening pretty much every year. So it becomes 50 times that 0.05 times the number of years. So we'd be asking, how much would it be in 5 years? I shouldn't use so many 5s. It might be confusing. Now let's change that. Let's do 7 years. All right. So $50 with a 5% interest over 7 years. 50 times 0.05 times 7 gives us 17.5, right? That's how much interest they made. That's based on the percentage, and it's based on the years, right? So that's not the final amount of money that they have, because the original amount of money was $50. So the final amount of money that they have would be 50 plus 17.5. So 67.50. All right, that was real short and simple, but I wanted you to see it because it does touch on it in the book. You're just taking the original times the interest times the number of times that it happens. So if it's per month, it would be the number of months. If it's per year, it would be the number of years. And that's really all I wanted to say about that. And so I hope you watch these, and I'll see you next time.